failed here. Let's see if I can just send. Live in this link. So guys, I don't know what happened, but the connection failed. So I just restarted here the live. We were just entering to Kabla Ahmak. I just sent a post in here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. I hope you. But if you're not able to return, like this, gonna be saved as well. So as we were finishing the Trecena analysis, we moved to Kabla Ahmak 12 complementarity. Now 12 is going to be the surprise, or something that comes as a hidden balance in the Trecena, or something that comes, to, like, it's the last step before the accumulation. Is the final step, to put things into balance before things get accumulated in our Naor. In our Ahmak, we talk about what joins the complementary opposites, like whenever you take the female jaguar with the masculine eagle, you combine them and you get like a product, you have like a deal. So that's what now Ahmak talks about. Talks about like whenever you join like this, like the emotional and the rational, like the masculine and the feminine, to get something new. Is one of the nows that is connected to the ancestors, because related to the cycle that they go through of the continuation of generation. So it's going to be pretty obvious that this talks about like having a child. Is the now that talks about the sexual relations. And in this Trecena, we're going to be talking about these extra deals we're going to be having this Trecena, or the hidden balance of the complementary opposites. As we were talking about, like the emotional aspects of the Naotzi in the heart of the Trecena, in between the 13 Naor, the rational side of this Naor. So this can be talking about like whenever you are organized and you're able to intervene, or you can have people that can serve to you as a complementary to help you to balance stuff. So it's how you're gonna to be finding out the complementary aspects to help you through your journey in the Trecena. And that's something that we need to see that in Ahmak. That can be in a very auspicious day, for making business. Can be a day, to be careful not falling in love, because Ahmak can lead with blindness. Or depending on how the Trecena is going, depending on how we are applying our actions in this Trecena and everything. Now Ahmak can also be showing us like what are the mistakes we are committing with this. Remember, the more organized we are, the less likely we are to make mistakes, or the more likely we are to foresee, or to prevent these mistakes that can come into the Trecena. Because Ahmak talks about these mistakes that we do whenever we are blind by emotions. Because sometimes we tend to fall in love with our ideas, we tend to fall in love with people, that seems to, brighten our life, and we put down our guard, and that's where stuff, can sometimes go sideways. We can end up, just making mistakes for being blinded by these emotions. So that's one of the stuff that Ahmak can talk about. But also Ahmak as the one that joins, like that complements or joins the complementary opposites, can be the one is going to be leading for you to finding people or the right people to be the complementary for your business, or maybe a complementary partner that can, put balance to your life. Maybe it's going to be the right intervention that you need is to find a good partner. So maybe if your plan is just to have a family, that's the now ahmak. To give continuation for your generation, that's now ahmak. But it also talks about the plans that is going to be involved with these decisions. Even if we are just talking about finding the right people to add to our personal projects, they need to fit into the plan, of course, because nothing comes for free. And so 12 ahmak is going to be talking about these extra complementary actions, these extra deals that we can have. It's the final step here in this Trecena for us to solve these ideas that sometimes ended up leading us to overthink too much. If we are talking about these projects that you are involved in this Trecena, ahmak, this 12 ahmak is going to be talking about finding the right people to complement this plan. If we are talking about having to make an intervention because something is not going right in our lives, 12 ahmak is the day for us to wake up, from this blindness, to put our feet on the floor and to see what is the root of that mistake. He talks about also letting things go. Sometimes we can accumulate so many thoughts, we can not moving or make the intervention or bring the change we want for our life path because we are holding on to so many stuff. Like if you weren't able to cut this stuff from our bag in the previous Trecena, maybe in this Trecena we're going to be feeling even heavier. But maybe it's just only a matter for us to see, only for us to wake up to see the wrong stuff that we are doing. So 12 ahmak can talks about just correcting the mistakes we are doing. Of course, you can often listen to the ahmak. It can be the now of the sinner applying this judgmental, but it's not quite like that. It can be also listening to the ahmak is the now of forgiveness. But it's not quite like that. It's just about letting go of the heaviness of the stuff that is not worth for you to carry. Like it's not about letting like the weight of the decisions of the other having an influence into your life. It's about for you sometimes to unmatch the stuff like that is not working, or it's just getting entangled and more entangled and accumulating stress into your life. It's just about to let things go. Things that doesn't serve you, just let them go. So if you didn't have the chance in the previous Trecena, now this is the final step for you to let things go in this one before you can accumulate more stress. And then moving from Kablau Ahmak, we go to Oshlahu Naor, 13 thoughts or 13 knowledge. It's the ruler of this Trecena. So this is going to be the now that's going to be talking about the accumulation of everything that we've seen here so far. Everything that is started as a new path of intervention that made us to retract, to calculate the support that we need or to calculate what is being like oppressing our hearts, for us to be able to open the path, finding the spiritual strength, to make sure to balance, or to dose the stuff that we ingest to produce, or to balance the productivity in order for us to overflow with power in our 5 Tor. Then to be able to ponder the emotions we are carrying, to be able to do like the final choices, the final actions, to then have a resolution to our path, so we can retract and to just state the transformation we are bringing with this organization in this Trecena, to be able to converge the resources that we need so we can spread the focus that we have been working on, so later we can have extra deals, extra products into our ahmak. And now the 13 Aor comes as the big accumulation. So we got all of this stuff, and then you have to see where everything connects to each other. It's like creating this big plan, or seeing where all the threads of this Trecena are going to be connecting, and knowing where you got to remove the thread or to make an intervention or in that area of your life that is not working. So only after we putting things into action when we really see what's working and what's not working, that we can really see what's going on. Sometimes we tend to only planify too much stuff. You try to planify like all the steps ahead, only in your head, but whenever it's practical, it's completely different than it's in the theory. So we need to put things into action to really see what is the weight of that into the plans of our life. So we need to put things in action. It's better than just start accumulating thoughts that sometimes they are not going to be connected to each other. Sometimes they are not going to be effective whenever you have to put into action. So that's going to be talking about the accumulation of the stuff that you already tried, so you can see how you're going to be managing stuff. Because that's a very important novel. It talks about like having to be organized. And being organized, sometimes it requires us to be stressed or just to be heavily mentally oriented into something. But it's necessary if you want to have like a control of the stuff that we are doing. Can be stuff that can inflammate us from the inside, because sometimes the thoughts can be adding to this heaviness. Like the rational thoughts sometimes can ignore or overlook the emotional side and can end up just makes us feeling confused about our path. Sometimes everything connects beautifully, like the plan is completely intact, but there is something that is not adding in there, and that could be like the weight of the emotions. That's why also we need to take into consideration what we are feeling. Like, what do you want to achieve beyond all of this rational stuff? And that's the challenge of this Trecena, because as I mentioned, it's going to be like the battle between the mind and the heart, and you have to find something in the middle of that. Something that is still going to be organized, but it's still going to be feeling okay, or feeling like supported with that as well. And that what brings like this accumulation of thoughts, this accumulation of ideas. Because sometimes they are about the emotions, they are also going to be carrying like how we're going to be making the plans we want for our lives. So that's one of very, very important steps that now is going to be taken care of. But the downside of now is going to be when you are overthinking too much. But remember, if this Trecena, if you feel that something is just letting you to overthink too much, stop there. Try to do like the action as soon as possible for you to give this stuff a try. Sometimes this Trecena can lead you to being excitating too much because you are confused. You may be feeling insecure. You may be feeling that your plan is not done or is not complete enough for you to start. But it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes you have to be fixing things along the way, and that's how it's going to be the best way to deal with this now. Don't let all the plan to be complete, then to do an intervention, because sometimes you need to do that real time. Otherwise, you're going to be ended up getting entangled and frustrated and thinking that nothing's going to be working for us. But it's only a matter for us to be organized, to be able to synthesize like the actions, the repercussion of our actions, and to put in the calendar the facts, like how the facts are going to be connecting. It's not going to be something that is going to be associating something like very mystical in here. In the Maya calendar, especially in this Trecena, we need to be collecting the facts, like how everything is going to be connecting to each other, how everything is going to be adding. The plan is going to be showing where we are failing, where we are succeeding. So the more organized we are, the better it's going to be. But remember that you do not need to completely ignore your emotions. Put the stuff that you really want to, the stuff that sometimes it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to you, no matter, like even if you cannot put into rational thoughts, we need to put that in the weight as well, because it's something that we need to carry for our lives. And that's how we talk about this accumulation of thoughts, and ideas, of synthesizing or the accumulation of decisions to make. Because sometimes we're going to be making the decisions based on emotions, but that's going to be making the decisions blind. And as we see in the previous now, the 12 Ahmak, sometimes if we do these blind decisions, we can end up making mistakes, ended up hurting others, we can end up destroying relationships, because we are heavy-headed. So that's why you need to keep things light in this Trecena. Don't let things accumulate that's gonna let you just feeling emotional, insecure, or confused, or with many doubts where you cannot see where everything fits. That's something that you need to be aware in this Oshilahu Naor Trecena. And that's how we finish. And now we finish this Trecena analysis. The next Trecena, we're going to be talking about the accumulation of emotions. I already have a video about the next Trecena analysis. If you can find it here, was the first video that I posted when I started doing this Trecena analysis. And you can see, you can go back to my video and see how it's going to be connected if you want to plan beforehand, how to see how this emotional side is going to be affecting the next Trecena. And so that's it. If you have any questions, I'm really sorry, guys. The other link, I don't know what happened, but I'm gonna be also uploading this second part here of this Trecena analysis. And if you have any questions, I'm here to talk to you, and whenever I can help you. If not, we can just wrap it up this analysis. But if you have any questions, oh, thank you, Alana. Glad you enjoyed this analysis. And well, this can be like could be a quite easy Trecena, but sometimes it can be a little bit boring, can be a little bit overwhelming. But if we just fall in the flow of the Trecena, we know how to manage very well. Marc Carpir, Urban Toltec, thank you for joining me in this. It's just an analysis. Do you offer readings? Yes, Alana, I do offer readings. You can go to my website, mayathekeeper.me, or reach me by DM on Instagram at mayathekeeper. Then we can talk about the types of reading that I do, or a ceremonial work if that's what you need. And if you have more questions, I've been following your channel for almost months, and now I see that you have less astrological approach. I wanted to buy books about my own astrology. But after I started watching your channel, well, in the lens, they don't see that as astrology as we listen to talking in here. We talk more about like this, it's more like a condition. We talk about more the influences of nature. So as I was mentioning here, like we connect facts in here. So the Maya calendar will more provide you like a way of thinking about stuff, like the way that we're gonna be seeing time, of course, but it's not about like seeing like as a horoscope in here. It's gonna be more a matter of you to know that everything that you do has a repercussion. And every repercussion you can see like what went wrong. It's not about, it was because the moon was like that or the planet was right there. It would be more like it's the repercussion. If something, like if you weren't aware of something, it's gonna be having a repercussion later on. So the Maya can let you know like how everything originated for you to have that repercussion. So it's not that mystical, but it's more like a way to change your way of thinking. Because here you tend to see like to thinking in straight lines, just like what happened in the past, so now it's the present and the future. But in the Maya calendar, time always keeps coming back. Like as I was mentioning, the Now Pathfinder that we saw in the previous Trecena, and that every 20 days the Now returns. So the more you get used to the days returning, you kind of get more. You kind of build more like this, you strengthen this mental muscle to see that everything is just returning. You're gonna stop seeing like yourself as a kid as something separate than you are right now. It's just an accumulation of stuff, accumulation of ideas that you accumulate through life. And when you start to have this awareness, it changes the way you're going to be solving problems. You can see that you can get out of complicated situations a bit quicker than before, than it was before. So the calendar helps with this shift. It's not about just having, the moon is going to be like that or the planet is going to be like that. No, there is nothing in the calendar that tells that something else is going to have an influence of us. It's just about to have an awareness of the stuff that we are doing and how we can do it better and make more conscious decisions. So it puts all the weight of the responsibilities on us. That's something that changes. A little more on the significance of the number 7 in the Trecena. How does the 7 connect to the 1 in the 13? So the 7 we can connect as the middle point, the Trecena. For example, the number 1 is going to be giving us the underlayer meaning of the Trecena, like something that can start, but it's already going to be accumulated to the 13. The 13 is pushing everything over there. The now 7 is going to be the middle point. So in this Trecena, for example, that we have now Kan, that is the new intervention they're going to do, or maybe a new change that is going to be, wanting to do, but maybe it doesn't happen that yet. Maybe it's just like the sound or that smell. But the 13 Aor is already pushing things to accumulate thoughts, or can be things, to accumulate like to a plan, to see where it can change. And now Bats, it's going to be like the middle of the Trecena, is going to represent the actions between this intervention and this plan. So it's going to be the action that you need to act, to intervene in order to fit into this big plan. So it's going to be like what, ties 1 and the 13 together. That's how you're going to see how they connect. If Bats is the thread, and we can connect, for example, the Kan is the sound of the thunder. If we connect the lightning as this thread that comes from the sky to the earth, so that's going to be having our Bats. So it's how we're going to be connecting things. So if now we talk about the ideas, like these big plans, now Bats going to be the threads, the many threads that can be accumulated in the 13 Aor. Was that clear? So the 7 is going to be like the middle point, like where we already walked enough a path to already see where things are going to be accumulated later. So what you see in the 13 is already have the repercussion in the now 7. So now it's just a time for you to accumulate or just become bigger into that. So it's not something that is a fate, or it's a fate that things going to connect, but it's more like a destination. So it's all the possibilities aim to that place. So the now 7 gives you already, just like when you are in the canyon where you can see everything around, or you're in the top of the mountain, so you can see where everything is going to connect at the end. So you kind of already know. So then you just have to walk the path to see accumulate and to become bigger. So that's how you connect the 7 with the rest. It makes sense. That's why stuff doesn't sound indigenous at all. And of course, yes. No, of course, because it's something very like this. This knowledge is very extensive. It's something that we really need to dedicate into the culture, need to learn how the people think, whenever they are talking about that. Of course, there are many Westerns, like I have been going through indigenous, villages here in Brazil and outside of Brazil, for over a decade right now. And I see that many anthropologists, they go there, like they want to have all the answers like in 3 days, like they don't want to go there and learn. So it's always an effort that you gotta do to understand how the culture thinks. It's not just a matter that us Westerns here say, but the Hindus or the Buddhists or the Catholics, they think that way, so everything must be connected. It's not quite like that. So every culture has a different way of thinking, of approaching nature, or different philosophies. If you want to enter to completely understand, you really need to dive into the culture. And the most important thing is to dive into the language, because the language that we speak, kind of shapes the way we see the world. Especially when we talk about this, about time. Because if we tend to think in a linear way, is if you see like everything started with the Big Bang and now it's just a straight line across, we are always going to be thinking about that. Oh, when I was a kid, you always put the tense in the time. Was there? But now in the future, I want to be something like that. You kind of separate yourself from these two aspects. But in the Maya, when they are speaking, they don't talk about that. They don't make difference between past, present, and future. It's always the focus on the events that is going to be returning. Can be something very silly, can be not make sense right now, but it makes a huge difference when we are comparing stuff. So that's why when you are talking about understanding ourselves through the Maya calendar, we're going to be understanding ourselves through pregnancy, because that's the origin of consciousness in the human being according to the Maya culture. It's not about, oh, it's just the energy, it's just going to be something suddenly like that. Everything has an explanation. Everything has something that gives an ignition and a conception and then a birth into something. Nothing, is isolated. Everything has an explanation. So that's what some of the stuff that we see here in the Maya calendar that is different than other stuff that they don't know how to explain. They just leave this stuff in the mystical and then you just have to believe. Oh no, you have to believe just over there. In the Maya calendar, no, we are going to be talking about facts. To explain the human being is going to be talking about the relationship between your parents. Even if you were born, if you were a fruit of artificial insemination, there was the woman in the syringe, everything is going to be talking about in a development through that. That's the change, the major change. Also, the Maya calendar acknowledged that, like the chemistry in our bodies as well. How was the pregnancy, because that also is going to be changing and having affectation. Exactly, everything is a relationship between these masculine aspects and these female aspects. I have a video talking about that here in my channel. There is a playlist that is written Maya Calendar Fundamentals. So I have a couple of videos that you can watch, so to have like a better clue of what I'm talking about in here. Oh, 11 Eagle is my mom's now. Well, your mom is very dominant then. A very angry mom. And so if you have any other questions or any things you like to talk, we can wrap it up here. Right on, Alana. You can reach me on Instagram at any time. If you want to, you can also check my website if you want to for a consultation. There is I'm running like a promotional price for consultations until the next Washaki Bats. So if you want to get a reading for $47, I didn't apply that in my website yet, but just write me on Instagram that I give you the code for you to do the checkout with the discount. And so guys, if you still have any questions, we can just close the live. I hope it was insightful for all of you. If you have any doubts along the process of the Trecena, feel free to reach me on Instagram. I always reply everybody. I always do my best to help in the way I can. And so I hope it was good for all of you. So right on, guys. So we're gonna be closing here half an hour. I really appreciate it for you to join me. I'm sorry for this late notice live. And I see you our next Trecena live. Bye bye and have a great Trecena ahead.